Hi, welcome to the Fainting Room. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the third episode of the Fainting Room. My name is Julia. I'm your host, and I'm really sick of people hiding their blatant homophobia behind their religion. Today, we're not going to be focusing so much on gay rights issues. In light of recent events, I've found it hard to talk about anything else other than Black Lives Matter and the history behind it. I'm sure a lot of you guys are aware of the riots and protests that have been happening pretty much globally. I myself have gone to a protest for Black Lives Matter. I've donated, signed as many petitions as I can, and things of that nature, and I encourage all of you to do so as well. Now, the riots were first specific to George Floyd's incident, his murder. They aimed to arrest and convict the policemen on the scene. Police brutality is really a product of an issue of systemic racism. The discussion to abolish and defund the police is in reaction to the history behind what the policemen were supposed to be doing and really their place in society, and how a lot of policemen abuse the power that they are given to protect. But it goes further than the abuse of power. See, when we talk systemic racism, we're talking what actually these systems were put in place to do and the history behind it. After the Great Migration began in the 1910s and really lasted up into the 1970s, white people were very uncomfortable with a lot of the integration happening. The system was originally created to protect white comfort, to provide white people with a system that would protect them from black people. This is where we get into mass incarceration and the history behind it. How African American people really moved from being slaves to, well, being criminals. Before I get into the episode and what I want to talk about, I also want to address the fact that if you are not black, I am tired and sick of hearing your opinion on the protests. Stop giving it. No one cares. You have no right to talk about what the black people should be doing in the country if you cannot understand the black experience. Being black in America is a whole other level of discrimination. You have no right to, quote, play devil's advocate right now or give your view. It is not the time for your view. No one cares. Period. Okay, now on to the meat of the episode. Today, we're going to be talking about, quote, the white savior. Now, when we talk about systemic discrimination and oppression, it's more than just police forces. So much of our society was built on protecting slavery and oppressing black voices. The way our economy is structured, the way our neighborhoods and communities are structured, the way we hold elections, the list goes on and on. Now, I'm sure you can guess by the tone of my voice I could probably go on for hours about all of this, but today we're going to be focusing in on one of my favorite female historical figures, Sojourner Truth. Many people know Sojourner Truth for her famous speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" Sojourner Truth was a former slave, and she fought for abolition, civil rights, women's movements, and temperance within the 19th century. Her real name is Isabella Baumfree. She was bought and sold over 4 times and was subject to an extreme amount of violent punishments and physical labor. Truth ran away with only one of her children, an infant at the time, to an abolitionist family close by. The family bought Truth's freedom for $20. After she was freed, she moved to New York City in the 1820s. She fought for abolition after she met a local minister. Her famous speech, "Ain't I a Woman?" was given in 1851 and transcribed by Meyers only a few weeks later. Truth's speech challenged this idea of racial and gender inequality and reminded listeners of her strength. She was fighting for abolition. She was fighting for women's rights. She was fighting for civil liberties, and really challenged this idea that just because she's a black woman doesn't mean that she is not an equal member in society. Truth speaks on a great deal of strength, being that she is not only 6 feet tall, but that she was a slave, and the things that she endured were absolutely indescribably horrible. She uses her past experiences and her perspective to bring light to horrible things that she went through. And honestly, it was extremely empowering for so many people in that crowd. She preaches that her female status gives us power, and the prejudice and bias embedded within the society holds everyone back. The speech that you all learn in your history classes, high school, and even college reads a little something like this. Well, chillin', war dar's so much racket dar must be something out o' killer. I tink dat Twix day of de South and de women at de North all a talking 'bout rights, de white men will be in a fix pretty soon. But here's what's all here talking about. Dat man ober dar say dat women needs to be helped into carriages and lifted over ditches and to have de best place everywhere. Nobody ever helps me into carriages and ober mud puddles or gives me any best place, and aren't I a woman? But see, that speech I just read you never actually existed.
Say what?
This is false history that you are all taught and practically brainwashed with. So after that massive truth bomb, we will now be taking our intermission. For today's intermission, I will be rapping the final verse of the same Nicki Minaj song I've been doing all along. This is the hardest verse, but is the most satisfying, so stay in your seats, folks. Let's get this one rolling. This verse is so good, I might pee. Are you gonna put graphics of me, peeing everywhere and, put pee everywhere? Just pee? No, I have to get the hat. I forgot. I was about to start and then I was like, oh wait, it's not complete yet. I have to get the words right because the Nicki stans are gonna come for me. Nicki Twitter will come for me and I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. All these bitches is my sons. And I ain't talking about Phoenix, bitch, I get money, so I do's what I pleases. I live with the motherfucking pools and the trees is. Bro, bitch is so crusty, disgusts me. Gave a bitch a ride on a Continental Dusty. Trust me, I keep a $100 in the Duffy. Couple wet wipes, case a bum try to touch me. Ew. I'm the Terminator. A bitch talk slick, I'ma have to terminate her. These little nappy-headed hoes need a perminator. You my seed, I'll spray you with the germinator. Move back, bugs. Matter of fact, you know a queen could use a back rub. You used to turn back time. Share, you used to be here, now you're gone. Nair. As in the hair removal spray. I mean, I think it's... So yes, that was the finale, the final verse of my favorite Nicki Minaj song, Did It On 'Em. Next week, I'm going to be rapping another song from the start of her first verse. Also, if you guys want me to learn or rap any more Nicki Minaj verses, some of your favorites maybe, let me know in the comments below. Okay, now back to white privilege and our horrible education system here in America. So yes, that speech that you all learned, horribly not true, not even a little, it's actually horribly not true. Did I mention not true at all? The speech I just read you was actually a transcription done by Francis Gage in 1863, over 10 years after the original speech was given. I will now read and show you guys an excerpt of the original speech, the original transcription done in 1851. May I say a few words? I want to say a few words about this matter. I am a woman's rights. I have as much muscle as any man and can do as much work as any man. I have plowed and reaped and husked and chopped and mowed. And can any man do more than that? I have heard much about the sexes being equal. I can carry as much as any man and I can eat as much too if I can get it. I am strong as any man that is now. As for intellect, all I can say is, if a woman have a pint and a man have a quart, why can't she have her little pintful? I will say again, this is the original speech. This was Truth's actual words. Now, if we compare them to the transcription written by Francis Gage over 10 years later, you will see a great difference in the syntax and overall message of the whole speech. So let's talk about what this means. Frances Gage was an activist for abolition and women's rights within the 19th century, similar to Truth. She worked closely with Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, who were both very, very key people within the first wave feminist movement when women were trying to get the right to vote. Frances Gage was not perceived as a racist. She was, in fact, perceived as quite the opposite, an activist. But what we see here, comparing the two transcriptions, is blatant racism. For a white woman to manipulate Truth's words to sound uneducated and not well-spoken is really horrible. Gage wanted to paint a certain picture for abolition and what slaves were like. Gage was trying to give her 2 cents, if you will, as to what slavery is like. It's like she read the original transcription and was like, oh, this can't be right because she's speaking so well and she's clearly educated and she's using correct grammar. So obviously this is not true. Either that or it's the perception of, oh, well, Truth's words are correct and very amazing, but if I print this and put it in a newspaper, no one's gonna read it. No one will pity this woman enough to believe in the abolitionist movement. This term is coined as the white savior. Gage brought her preconceived notions and bias as to what slaves and slavery looked like, and used that to manipulate Truth's words to get people to fight and join the abolitionist movement. These abolitionists were not really focused on what Truth's actual message was about gender inequality, but rather they were focusing on, oh, well, look how horribly spoken she is and uneducated she is. We must save her from slavery. Now, I chose to speak on this topic because not a lot of people know about this and the truth behind Truth's speech, but also because it is extremely relevant to what's happening within the Black Lives Matter movement now. A lot of people who claim to be allies are using their privilege to speak up for Black people. They are using their voice and speaking on the perspective of the Black experience. But see, we must recognize that this is wrong. Now, as non-Black people, it's important to use our privilege to help the Black Lives Matter movement, but not manipulate and speak for them. Frances Gage thought that she had the right to manipulate Sojourner Truth's words because she had studied, to some certain extent, Black history and African American experience. But see, just because you know about it and you're aware of the situation and how horrible it is, doesn't give you the right to speak on it. And let alone manipulate their words. Listen to what they have to say, because they were the ones that went through it. So if you are a non-Black person like myself, I encourage you to not be a Gage in this situation, to not try to save our Black friends, to not try to speak for them, but rather uplift their voices and use your privilege and your platform as someone who isn't Black to empower them. Read more articles and books written by Black people. Watch more movies written and directed by Black people. I always tell people that the first step in educating yourself is admitting that you don't know something. Admit to yourself that you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about and that you're willing to learn. Try to listen and even begin to understand the inherent and systemic discrimination that Black people will go through in this country every single day, and be the change. Be the change that you want to see. So that's the end of this episode today. I am going to post links for more places you can donate. Make sure to check out our Instagram for more information and daily updates. And of course, subscribe to this channel. Give this video a like if you enjoyed, or a dislike if you hated it. So please keep signing petitions. Please keep donating. Please keep being active within the movement. Keep protesting, even if you can. And most importantly, please tell Jeremy from your math class to stop saying the N-word. Makes us all really uncomfortable. Bye, guys!